name is Beth and Rose is my mum. The last house is a massive house with very large rooms and a lot of stairs. It was just a bit of a nightmare. It was dark because we lived right next to a rock face. All the typical moving reasons. So now we moved to a stepless bungalow where we can park right outside and take our Tesco shopping in one go. It's amazing. I started at Lloyd's it wasn't even July, it must have been March. It's really odd because I don't feel like I've been working there that long. And it was a job which I was planning to give up because initially I didn't even plan on taking it. Now I have a job in a house by accident. I didn't mean to do that, I really didn't. I planned on going back to the cafe. So I'm the breadwinner, Letty's the carer.
I'm Letty, Rose is my mother. So I was at uni and now I've come back to live with my mother. So at the moment my daily routine is getting up in the morning and waking up mother and then seeing if she's alright and sorting her out. And that'll take a couple of hours and then eventually after that I'll have breakfast. And yeah, it's just kind of spending time with her at the moment. That is my life. It's been nice since we moved. I actually have my own bedroom again, so you know, I've been without that for like 3 or 4 months now, so that's an improvement, definitely.
The only thing which I have noticed which is more difficult is getting mum outside for a smoky because there's a little bit of a step by the patio doors, and so when she's on a chair you have to like bunker up. We got the camper because it's mum's dream, it's something she's always wanted. It would be nice, and it was her suggestion.
And one day she called me up, actually I've got a really good idea, and I went, oh my god, I hate it when you have a really good idea, because it's never a really good idea. And she went, let's get a camper van, and I went, right.
It's one of those things which has been said 1,000 times before, but then that it was that like straight on eBay.
So I had a look for cheap camper vans and found this one, and the couple that were selling it were really nice.
And then the next kind of day she picked up from Cheddar. So it was really, really insanely quick.
Hi Mum! Just taking apart your camper.
The main problems were the floor. It was carpeted and it had like black carpet with red dots on it, and it was really vile, and also it was like laid in loads of different places. I immediately got my friends to do it as well, mainly because it'd be like a project in an event. And so the first thing we did is we looked in and we said, okay, we need to change the floor.
It just looks nicer and feels nicer inside. It feels a bit lighter. Before it was a little bit carpet and naff wood.
And all the cupboards were painted white. What we did is we got a square of lace and then spray painted it. What was meant to be blue, it ended up more green. We spray painted it blue on top so that you got, when you took the lace off, you then had potentially a blue door with a white lace imprint. Yeah, we added in lots of pictures on the side, which do look naff, but that's alright because they're important, they have sentimental value, even though they are just ripped out of Country File. They're important.
Bug's done a really good job of doing it up and making it look kind of girly inside. I really like the fairy lights, even though I kind of look at them and think, oh, is that a fire hazard? But that's just me being cautious.
And there's fairy lights running along the top between the lights, because fairy lights is an easy way of making everything better.
I also like the cushion she's got in there, which she's sewn a bra onto. That's an original idea.
Well, it's meant to look homemade, isn't it, when you've done something like that? The camper makes a huge difference, maybe not in the sense that we actually get to go to anything quite as planned, but we still get to go out. I'll give you an example of how late Mum is to stuff. We used to, back when we were on Hill Road, we used to have a Christmas fair that came every year. And they set up all their stalls and stuff, and it ran from about 7 till about 10. We made it kind of a habit to go every year, and me and my sister were all dressed up and ready, and Mum was so late that we missed it, and it was out on our road and we missed doing Christmas fair, so that's how late she is for stuff. The thing is, the lateness is never going to change. The camper does still help us to get out.
Probably a month or 2 ago now, we were at the local hospital and she was having a blood transfusion which took all day. And there was a huge mix-up with the ambulance crews. We managed to get an ambulance to take her in the morning, and a crew turned up an hour after we'd arrived. The blood hadn't even arrived yet, and these guys were like, "Oh, we've come to take Rose back," and I was like, "Well, no, you're not." We arranged for them to come back in the evening, and then they never did. So the camper was really good then, because we could just about bundle her into the back of it, especially once she'd had more blood. That really helps perk a person up. It's surprising. Rose really loves the camper. I think it's been kind of her dream for ages, and now she kind of feels like it's time to actually go and get those dreams.
Mum definitely likes the camper. She always goes on about it to lots of strangers who are expecting it to be this beautiful, snazzy Volkswagen.
It's not a VW camper van, but to be honest, it's a lot bigger. And I think in many ways it's a lot more individual. They're kind of going out of fashion now anyway, everybody's got one. So
I don't want to.
You don't want to say that she has cancer?
No.
Well, it's just you keep talking about the fact that she's in a wheelchair and just
They know.
and she can't go out. They don't know what she has.
Let's go talk about it.
her outlook before she was diagnosed, I think she felt like she was under a lot of stress from other factors, and she felt like she had to do something about that, which was difficult. And then when she was diagnosed, she just doesn't have to do anything anymore. I have to do it all. So no, it's fine. It doesn't really matter anymore. So it's really nice for her. It's a lot of freedom, I think.
First time she got diagnosed, she came out and she sat in the smoker's shed and she was smoking away, and she goes, "Oh, I think it's because of all the stress," and started blaming it on this man who caused her a lot of stress over some sort of bills or something. And then she started puffing away on her fag and continually repeating it.
Her outlook on life is actually pretty positive because she just doesn't care anymore.
Mum's outlook on life is relaxed and not necessarily complacent.
She's pretty much figures that she can do whatever she likes, which I think is a nice outlook to have.
Mum is not a describing one word kind of person.
I've definitely inherited a lot of originality from my mother. That's something she's got in bucket loads.
You'd like to say eccentric, but even that doesn't quite nail it.
I don't want to say that she's difficult, but it really is one of the best ways to describe her. She's good as well, but she is difficult.
Because it's not something like energetic or hyper or creative or anything like that, because those are all words which are kind of somewhat intentional. But it's just straightforward insane.
I think her don't care attitude kind of rubs off on you after a while as well. Useful as long as you don't lose sight of reality. One time she turned to me and asked me if there was gravity on the moon, or how people stuck to the moon because there wasn't gravity on the moon. Gravity was an Earth-specific thing in her book. And then I had to explain to her that gravity actually just works everywhere. That's why people do bounce on the moon. Like, it has less gravity, but yeah.
She asked if gravity was on the moon.
She wasn't really sure how the solar system worked. Which surprised me because...
Well, she did science.
Yeah, she did a science degree.
Yeah, what did she do?
She did geology. Maybe that doesn't count.
We're watching the telly and she was flicking through the guide, and in the background was news, and it said like, "Oh, a 20-year-old female has been brutally raped and murdered," and something like that, something very serious. And Mum was like, "Oh, that's sad." And I was like, "What, Mum?" And she was like, "Oh, we've missed Emmerdale." Well, this was funny.